All right, so I apologize up front for the angle. This is not the normal view that you see of the shop, but we're looking at the P2 today, so we're going to be back on it. And I want to use one of the features that is kind of the most interesting, one of the most interesting features of the machine, and it's something that we haven't looked at yet because now I have a reason to use it. And so I am trying to make a nice wooden bowl, and one of the cool features of the P2, even the S1, is that they can do contoured surfaces. And so we're going to do that for the first time together today. So I have this wooden bowl. I want to do an engraving, and this is obviously dished, it's curved. And so there is a neat trick that the laser can do where we can go in, and once we've got this sitting on the bed, we can show the machine where the upper left corner of the target area is and where the lower right corner is. And then we can establish kind of a grid pattern of how many samples it's going to take, and those samples are going to be kind of depth measurements. And so what the machine will do is create basically a mesh that shows the topography of this piece to the machine, so it will keep it in focus as it's doing the job, because this surface is curving up in the corners and it's not perfectly flat. So the machine will compensate for that. So I found a piece of clip art that I want to add to this bowl. I think I'll probably do it in this orientation, and we're going to do this together and see how it turns out. All right, so we're looking at the piece of clip art that I want to use, and I'm mainly concerned with the width of the space that I'm trying to go into. And so just kind of eyeballing this, leaving enough space on both sides for the design to kind of be legible and not get too close to the edges. It looks like 125, 130 on the width in millimeters is going to be probably where I want to be. So I'm doing 135. I don't need the 0.6. Oh, I just changed the wrong one. In this orientation, it needs to be the height. So there we go. So it gave us a height of 135, which is what we decided. It's giving me a length of 184. So let's see where that lands. Yeah, I kind of like that. Just kind of eyeballing it there. So now, let's see. And I've got my material set to not anything. I'm just doing. All right, so I'm going to do an engrave on this, so it will look like what the screen shows. So it's gonna carve out the inside basically, and I'm really just winging this. And the speed, let's stick with 80. Let's do 85 on the speed, and we'll do one pass, and we'll leave this. If we need to go over it again, we can, but this is not a hardwood, and I don't want to go too deep either. So actually I'm going to back off the power. No, I'll leave the power at 15, and we'll just hope for the best. And so when I go here, and I've set this to curve process, slats flat, cylindrical, laser, open plane, conveyor, and I'm doing curve. And we'll do curve measure. And so this is where it pops up and says, you know, you need to tell the machine where you're going to be doing the job. And so right now it's set to move 100 millimeters at a time. I'm going to change that to 25, which is closer to an inch, and we'll just creep up on it. So I'm going to keep moving it to the left, and what I'm trying to do is get the laser light where I want kind of the work area to be. I don't hate that. Yeah, actually that's good. That's kind of where I want it. So the vertex 1 is going to be the top left corner, so I'm going to hit mark right there. and it's going to commit that, and then we will drive it now, and I'm going to change this back to, let's just change it to 50, and now I'm going to go to the other end of where I want the job to be. Change it back to 25. This is a little tedious, but we'll get there. Since I know there's nothing really in the corner of the image, that looks good to me. We'll hit mark. And so it didn't like that. So I'm going to back that up a little bit off of that. Let's do 10. Let's try that. Okay, it liked that. So we'll hit next, and now it's it's crazy how many samples it wants to do. Let's get something a little bit more manageable. Yep, might be overkill, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm doing 7 rows by 10 columns, and we're going to hit start measuring. And so on the screen we can kind of see it moving from dot to dot, and we'll just let this complete. It's actually going way faster than I thought it would, and we'll come back to it. So we up. Very cool. So we actually have a mesh of the surface of that bowl in the system now, which is kind of cool. And so we have the smoothness and tension. So these are both set to 3, which I believe is probably fine. That just makes it a smoother, so that when the tension is lower, it makes it more faceted. And then as you increase the tension, it makes it more of a curvature. So that's kind of cool. So we got hide grid, 3D view, top view, and then map. So we'll just say done. So, okay, so now we know where the surface is that we can play with. That's the area that we outlined. So now I can take my design and I can move it into that space. So as we can see, I didn't really grab enough space to move it into. So that's fine. We've got some wiggle room here. So, but I am going to try to maximize it as much as I can. That looks good to me. So, all right, so we're at 15% power. We're at 85 on the speed. Let's see what happens. So we hit process. There's our design. And we'll hit start. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this very quick little video on one of the neatest features of the P2, and that's the ability to do curved surfaces. I think this turned out great, especially since I had never done it before. So I think that speaks volumes. The S1 that I have reviewed recently can do the same thing. The P2 and the S1, they just do it in different ways, but you're going to get the same results regardless, because they can both kind of map out the topology of the item that you're trying to engrave. So again, I think that's very cool. If you've got any questions or comments about any of the xTool products, you can leave those down below. As always, I'll have links to the S1, the P2, all the xTool machines, as well as affiliate links for some of the products that I do my laser testing with. All of that will be down below too. I appreciate you for sticking around, and I look forward to seeing you again.